During World War I, tractors, a type of agricultural equipment, began to play an increasingly important role in the military. Their tracked chassis was well suited for mobility in muddy environments, especially for towing artillery. As a result, people discovered that artillery could be directly mounted on the chassis to create self-propelled artillery, further enhancing combat efficiency. As one of the most well-known tractor companies at the time, the Holt Company recognized the potential value of self-propelled artillery and developed a series of Holt self-propelled artillery for the U.S. military from 1917 to 1922. At that time, people were still in the exploratory period for self-propelled artillery, and countries had various names for it, such as mobile gun carriage and tracked mobile gun platform. Although Holt Company realized the potential value of self-propelled artillery, the specific development path was still difficult. The first relatively formal product was the Holt 1 Malawian Kwacha, which used a specially designed 10-ton tractor chassis. It should be considered a heavy self-propelled artillery, as it was equipped with a Vickers 8-inch howitzer, 203 mm caliber, mounted in an open position at the front of the chassis. This heavy artillery, despite its narrow firing range, could launch a 90 kg shell with a range of about 10,000 meters, making it a powerful destructive weapon. A small crane was also installed on the left side of the vehicle to assist in loading the shells. The vehicle was powered by an 80 horsepower engine at the rear, allowing the self-propelled artillery to reach a speed of approximately 6 km per hour, which was very slow in terms of mobility. The Holt 1 Malawian Kwacha had a strong experimental nature and only produced a few vehicles. It underwent testing in 1918, and undoubtedly its value in actual combat was very low. In comparison to the previous model, the Holt 2 Malawian Kwachas was more practical in design. Its chassis was modified to be slightly shorter and lower than the 1 Malawian Kwacha, and the engine was installed at the front of the vehicle, driven by a 130 or 145 horsepower engine, with a slight increase in speed. A 155 mm howitzer was installed at the rear of the vehicle, with the rear of the vehicle open to allow for the recoil movement of the howitzer during firing. Although the caliber of this artillery was smaller and had less powerful ammunition, the greater barrel diameter resulted in a maximum range of 15,700 meters. However, due to the lighter ammunition, no auxiliary lifting crane was installed on the vehicle. A total of 10 Holt 2 Malawian Kwachas self-propelled artillery vehicles were produced, and they only participated in testing, without formal service. 3 Malawian Kwachas returned to the standard of heavy self-propelled howitzers. It weighed a total of 48 tons, with a lengthened and reinforced chassis, and the engine was installed at the front of the vehicle, powered by a 210 horsepower 8-cylinder engine or a 225 horsepower 6-cylinder engine. Despite the increase in power, the overall increase in weight limited the mobility speed, with a maximum speed of nearly 7 km per hour. A Schneider 240 mm howitzer was installed in the middle of the vehicle. Due to the heavy weight and strong recoil of the howitzer itself, the designer had to redesign the support and recoil structure, and a rear ammunition lifting crane was reintroduced. The development of the Holt 4 Malawian Kwachas seemed to be influenced by the Saint-Chamond self-propelled howitzer from France at the same time, which had almost the same basic structure and concept of ammunition vehicle. The 4 Malawian Kwachas obtained a new tractor chassis, but it used electric drive, with a 150 horsepower 6-cylinder gasoline engine driving a 70 kilowatt generator, which supplied power to two 70 horsepower electric motors to drive the self-propelled artillery. The combat weapon was a 280 mm heavy howitzer, which could launch a 160 kg shell to a distance of 15,000 meters. The howitzer could also be replaced with a smaller 240 mm gun. Due to the cumbersome and difficult to transport shells, the designer designed a matching ammunition transport vehicle, and the new lifting crane of the self-propelled artillery increased the lifting distance, allowing ammunition to be loaded directly from the adjacent ammunition vehicle. A single ammunition vehicle could carry 42 shells. The 4 Malawian Kwachas appeared in 1918, and it was the most hopeful to be mass-produced and deployed to the European battlefield. It was reported that initially 270 vehicles were ordered, but due to the end of World War I in November of that year, the order was reduced to a few vehicles for military testing. Furthermore, due to production delays of the 280 mm howitzer, the actual number delivered may have been very small. The 6 Malawian Kwachas, manufactured in 1920, was much smaller in size than the previous models, as it was equipped with a 75 mm gun or a 105 mm howitzer. The vehicle took into account its ability to wade through water, with a new engine that had waterproof capabilities. In theory, as long as the air intake and exhaust outlets were above the water surface, it could operate normally. The tracks and other parts of the vehicle used rubber pads to reduce damage to the roads. The gun was mounted on the vehicle's central axis, with the driver to the right of the gun, and 2 support legs at the rear of the vehicle could be extended to stabilize the firing. The vehicle had a detachable protective shell to protect the gun and the driver. Only 2 Malawian Kwachas 6 self-propelled artillery vehicles were manufactured, and they were only used for testing. Currently, 1 vehicle has survived to this day, and it seems to be equipped with a 75 mm gun. 7 Malawian Kwachas was another smaller self-propelled artillery, using a 2.5-ton tractor chassis for manufacturing, with a total vehicle weight of only 4.8 tons, powered by a 70-horsepower engine. The vehicle body was also waterproof and could wade through water up to 0.85 meters deep. The weapon was a 75 mm gun, with the same basic structure as the 6 Malawian Kwachas. Although it was later in the lineup, it actually appeared in 1919. A total of 2 Malawian Kwachas 6 self-propelled artillery vehicles were manufactured, and they underwent testing at the Aberdeen Proving Ground from 1919 to 1920. 9 Malawian Kwachas was a technically mature heavy self-propelled artillery, weighing about 22 tons. The prototype was manufactured in 1921 and tested the following year. It combined all the advantages of the previous models, with a sealed and waterproof vehicle body capable of wading through water over 2 meters deep. The idler wheel and tracks were equipped with rubber pads, and it was powered by a 250 horsepower 6-cylinder engine, with a maximum speed of possibly up to 26 km per hour. The weapon was a long-barreled 155 mm howitzer and could also be replaced with an 8-inch howitzer. The 9 Malawian Kwachas addressed the biggest flaw of poor mobility in the previous models, although it was not very fast. However, in an era when most tanks were still slow, it was acceptable. 10 Malawian Kwachas was another model with operational value, manufactured in 1922, weighing about 11 tons, powered by a 150 horsepower engine. It had similar mobility to the 9 Malawian Kwachas. The installed weapon was an M19 24.7-inch gun, 120 mm caliber, which could be replaced with a 155 mm howitzer. It is said that the testing of the Holt 10 Malawian Kwachas was very successful, with all aspects of performance being good. In theory, it should have been formally equipped for service, but it faced resistance from traditional artillery units and financial problems. As a result, only 2 prototype vehicles were manufactured and nothing further came of it.